Hello everyone and welcome to my PSA crossover review. I've got a fat stack of cards we're sending off to PSA in the hopes that our 9.5s and 9s turn into PSA 10s. Because when they do that, we make money. I got a whole stack of them here. Happens to be March. If you didn't know this, PSA has a little bit of a cheaper grade on crossovers. If you didn't know that, go smash the subscribe, go smash the like button because you just learned something useful. You might have a few cards to cross over yourself. By the way, how do you decide what to cross over? You know, if you were to ask an expert like me, how do you decide? Well, there's like a formula to it because it's got to be a card valuable enough that when it turns into the PSA 10, there's been a large gain from that, and you have to assume some of them will miss. And then there's the cost of the actual grading. Now for PSA, they say it's $30 in the month of March, right? But the real price is a bit higher because you got to pay shipping to them, shipping back for them, and insurance. When you add all those in, really comes out to more like $45 a card. So there's some formula where you assume a couple of these will turn into 10s. There'll be some sort of monetary gain from that, and that has to be high enough that it makes up for the ones that miss. So that's the formula. In other words, if you have some 9.5 energy cards, you know, probably don't cross-grade those because there's just not enough value to gain from turning them into PSA 10s. That's when you take those and set them on fire, or you drill them. Drill, baby, drill. So here we have the first card in the set. It's from CGA, Card Grading Australia. I paid a premium on this, actually, to acquire it just because it said pristine here. So I assume they are not lying. You hear that, Card Grading Australia? Your reputation's on the line because we're crossing this, and it better grade 10. It's a really weird one because it's in a sleeve, but it sticks out of the sleeve a little bit. So, and it looks to be double sleeved. What the hell? So very strange. Card Grading Australia. The slab feels a bit odd almost, but I'm not here to judge because we do a little card grading company ourselves. I didn't call it Card Grading America. That's pretty extreme. It's just Cardconomist grading. And yeah, so this better turn into a PSA 10. That's the first card in the submission. You hear that, Card Grading Australia? Now, we got a couple BGSs I'm sending in. These are 9.5s. This is the traditional thing you send into PSA. Beckett grades harder than PSA. That's what everyone says. And when it grades 9.5, it's actually a Gem Mint 9.5. So Beckett's basically claiming this is similar to a PSA 10. We want to get a PSA 10 rather than a Beckett 9.5 because the value goes up when it occurs. So the first one is the blue poker set. Okay, and then we got yellow poker set, and then we got red poker set. But let me tell you the story about these a little bit. I tried to grade these with PSA. You hear that, PSA? I tried to grade these with you, but they wouldn't take them because they weren't grading poker cards yet. PSA did not start grading poker cards until very recently. And I like to think I had a big part in that because you know what I was doing? I would send them super fancy Charizards, super fancy surfing Pikachus, Ace of Spades Pikachu, Ace of Spades Mewtwo, and I was adding like 5 of those in every submission that I sent off to PSA, and I'm always sending to PSA. And I like to think that they finally said, dude, this guy just keeps sending these. Are they real? And I like to think they got new slab design and caved and started grading them. Because, again, it was just SGC and Beckett grading these for a long time. Now, in the meantime, I got kind of tired of waiting for them. And I said, well, I might as well try for Beckett Black Label, Beckett Pristine. But I got Gem Mints on these. So these are going to go ahead and head off to PSA. The funny part is, once I have a ton of PSA 10s, I'm going to send those back to Beckett and see how many of those turn into Pristines. That's right, I'm farming around for those high grades. So we got some SGCs. These are also mine that personally came out of decks, and they just didn't grade well. 8.5, what makes a card an 8.5 rather than a 10? I mean, this one's actually better colored than this card over here. This one has a slight fade on it, but this one's a higher grade. You flip them around. I mean, the centering seems okay. I don't know if there's some big problem with the centering. What do you guys think? So maybe they found like a surface thing on it that said, well, it can't be 9. It has to be 8 point. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's all made up bullshit. You know what I mean? Oops, that was a bad word. All right. So, okay. So we got the green deck 8.5 minimum grade of 9 on that one. And this one graded 9. I'm just looking it over real carefully. There's like maybe a little gray dot there, but it's very light. And I'm just thinking, man, the centering's not bad either. Maybe a PSA 10. PSA, you should just take these cards away from these companies, you know? Take these cards away from them and put your label on it because that's how a card grading company gets a monopoly. They get all the good cards under their brand. You know, every PSA card is essentially an advertisement for PSA. So we got a couple other good ones here. We got Surfing Pikachu, Blue Blastoise, Blue blue Ace of Spade Pikachu, and of course, one of the best in the series, Gengar. Gengar poker card is a card to watch because people seem to love it, dude. But yeah, let's take a quick look at these. Boy, I hope I haven't put these out of order by playing with them. So we've got this, here's the Surfing Pikachu. Really rare card. When you open up a poker set, it seems to only come out of the blue and the yellow deck. This is like a lesson in poker cards, but it seems to come only out of blue and yellow deck. And so if you have a sealed deck of blue or yellow, you'll pop it open, and you wonder if you get this rather than the regular Ace of Spades Pikachu. That's where this guy comes from. He does not pop out all that often. And flip it around, he's a slightly off center for me here, but I think he's got a shot. I think he does. I think he's got a good shot. Here's Blue Poker Set Blastoise. He's like a $300 card. No, he's like a $250 card. So this almost doesn't meet the threshold for being worth the risk of being rejected by PSA and losing 30 bucks on. But I'm going to go for it anyways, just because I think he's especially collectible as a blue back. It's Blastoise on the back, Blastoise on the front. Cool, right? So blue back. We had a guy asking for the yellow Blastoise just today. Now here's Blue Poker Pikachu. He's Ace of Spades Pikachu, man. You got to go for it. The Ace of Spades, this is what all the poker guys care about. The Ace of Spades. So that's the best one. Ace of Spades Pikachu is awesome. And of course, Gengar. Let's take a quick look at the back of the card. Again, a little slide off centering, I think, on this corner here, but it looks pretty good. All right, so we like the way he looks. This Misty's Gyarados, I've actually got a couple cards from CGC, and they're the black label. Either it's Mint Plus or it's CGC Mint. And I'd like to gamble by sending these off. It's an expensive gamble, so I've actually got more I could send, and I could just, it can just be a stab in the dark. But this one actually does look pretty good. We'll see what happens. If this turns into a PSA 10, it's a huge upgrade. If it misses, I lose 30 bucks. All right, so that's Misty's Gyarados. Same here. I was just looking the card over. It's a great looking card. A little off center on the upper right corner. But other than that, it's just a nice looking card. You might say there's a little off centering top bottom. But yeah, where's the white dots? No big white dots on it. I wasn't seeing any print lines, and I'm like, man, they gave this a mint 9. And this is before they had like the black label and all this. So this is earlier CGC. They were just harsh on it, I think. CGC tended to do that. Here's another interesting card that came into my collection. It is a Cubone 9.5 SGC. I just stared it over. It's got very, very, very minor flaws. I think it has a shot at the cross grade, but you can see one of the bigger flaws is on the back of the card, a little more off center. But I know PSA is more forgiving. Well, they were more forgiving on the back of the card than the front, so that might still be true. And if that's the only reason it got 9.5, and 9.5 is a high grade, that could be a PSA 10. Now, PSA 10 Rocket Return Cubone, that's one of the best reverse hollers from Rocket Return. So, yeah, Cubone for sure. We got to try. Bought this one a long time ago. Actually, I bought it for $69 in December of 2020. So, we were in COVID, and that was a long-ass time ago. Just a decent-looking Butterfree from Fire Red, Leaf Green. Good swirl in the bottom corner there in the hollow. If he crosses into a 10, I mean, all of the PSA 10s of this card are really expensive. Look, that's the old GMA label. Pretty interesting. Here are some metal Charizards. If you didn't know this, I took a whole bunch of Charizards and sent them off to CGC the minute CGC announced that they were grading metal Charizards again. At that time, PSA was not grading metal Charizards yet, and now they are grading them again. So I'm going to send these in. These were two pretty good-looking metal Charizards, and maybe one of them will cross. There's a significant improvement in price if it turns into a PSA 10. Here's the problem. I don't really know how hard these are to crack and what PSA does to get these out. But, yeah, if this picks up the PSA label, the premium on these shoot right up. So we would like the PSA 10 on these, and they're looking pretty clean. The last two are really a gamble. These are CGC 9.5s. Again, that's typically what you play around with, are 9.5s. So you send these out and see what happens. I think these are hard to grade, these special delivery Bidoofs. We're just going to stab in the dark with them. I looked them over. I could tell the corners were a bit odd. They're like not perfectly round. Maybe PSA is cool with that. I don't know. CGC gave it a 9.5, but we'll see what happens. If neither of them cross, it's a big loss. It's a $60 loss. If one of them crosses, the premium on them as a 10 is so much better that there's actually a lot of money gained. So I feel, you know, in the end, it really comes down to PSA to decide if it's good enough. But yeah, so what did you think? Some nice cards in here. These have been sitting around waiting to cross for a while. And honestly, I have more cards that I can cross, but I'm kind of sticking to the more expensive cards. A little scared. I'm going to be shipping these really well. They're going to get double boxed. That's the trick, boys and girls. You want to double box your expensive items and make sure to hand deliver it to the post office, okay? Don't let anyone touch it. Don't put it in the mailbox. You hand deliver it to the post office and you double box it, okay? Because you don't want to mess around with thousands of dollars of cards. Rank the PSA crossover submission and place your bets on what will cross grade. See you later, everybody.